As of the filming of this video, news is still breaking, so by the time you watch this, there may be updates, but as of right now, several potential explosive devices have been sent to many prominent people, including the Clintons, Obama, now we're hearing Eric Holder, potentially Debbie Wasserman Schultz. There are more, I'll go through the news stories. But I also want to talk about some of the conspiracy theories that are flying around and the psychological effects of what is happening. A lot of people are saying it's really convenient this is happening just before the midterms, so I want to address how this will likely impact the average person. First, let's start with the breaking story about the explosive devices, potential explosive devices, being sent out across the country. Now, before we get started, please head over to patreon.com/Timcast. If you'd like to support my work, patrons are the backbone of the content I create, so if you like these videos and you like what I do, please go to patreon.com/Timcast to help support my work. From NBC New York, 4 apparent explosive devices were sent to Hillary Clinton, Obama, a CNN correspondent, and George Soros, and they are linked according to sources. A senior law enforcement official says a package sent to CNN and the Time Warner Center is thought to be similar to the packages sent to Clinton, Obama, and George Soros. We also have breaking news: police investigating suspicious package at Sunrise office of Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And as of 12:41 p.m., authorities intercept a suspicious package that was sent to former AG Eric Holder, officials tell Pete Williams, NBC. At 11:33 a.m., Tom Winter of NBC tweeted, "Here's what we know so far. The packages are manila in color. The packages have similar or identical components. The packages all have a return address belonging to a prominent Democratic official. They say they are not naming that person at this time in the investigation. However, we now know." According to Yahoo, an official said one of the packages had the return address of Representative Deborah Wasserman Schultz, an ironic reference to the former chairwoman of the Democratic National Committee. NBC News has posted a photo. They say the suspicious packages addressed to Clinton and Obama. CNN's NYC office evacuated. Police investigating package at Debbie Wasserman Schultz's office. Device was found in George Soros' mailbox Monday. And this is an image of the device posted by NBC News. I believe this may be the device found at the home of George Soros. I'm not entirely sure. Fox News tweeted from Steve Rogers, "By the number of packages that we are beginning to find, this was a well-coordinated individual that planned to have this all happen simultaneously." The NYPD just held a press conference where they said, aside from the potential explosive device, they also found a letter containing white powder. We don't know what that white powder is as of right now, but again, I'm shooting this several hours before you're actually going to see it, so by the time you watch, there may be many more updates. This is the breaking news, but I want to address some of the concerns and conspiracies that are flying around. Obviously, a ton of people are saying it's so convenient that this is happening, targeting the Democrats just before the midterm elections because they believe this will benefit the Democrats, but that's not entirely true. Data suggests that while many people on the left may be prejudiced against Donald Trump and the Republicans because of an attack primarily targeting the left, most people who are not engaged in politics typically vote for incumbents or for Republicans when they are scared. Keep in mind, this is very nuanced and data is a bit all over the place. There's a lot of studies you have to consider, and I'm not saying it's definitively true, but I do have some reason to believe that this may actually make your average American lean right. Yes, let me go through the data and show you why. From this story in psychologicalscience.org, terrorism may make liberals think more like conservatives. Liberals' attitudes towards Muslims and immigrants became more like those of conservatives following the July 7, 2005 bombings in London, new research shows. Data from 2 nationally representative surveys of British citizens revealed that feelings of national loyalty increased and endorsement of equality decreased among political liberals following the terrorist attack. I want to point out, this is specifically saying their attitudes towards Muslims and immigrants, and this may be because the bombings were from immigrant Muslims, and many people are going to become scared. But the important point here is that feelings of national loyalty increased and endorsements of equality decreased. It may not have anything to do with the specific group that was found to have been planting the devices, but I have more data, so let's move on. According to scientificamerican.com, psychologists have found that conservatives are fundamentally more anxious than liberals, which may be why they typically desire stability, structure, and clear answers, even to complicated questions. Conservatism apparently helps to protect people against some of the natural difficulties of living, says social psychologist Paul Nail of the University of Central Arkansas. The fact is, we don't live in a completely safe world. Things can and do go wrong. But if I can impose this order on it by my worldview, I can keep my anxiety to a manageable level. Anxiety is an emotion that waxes and wanes in all of us. And as it swings up or down, our political views can shift in its wake. When people feel safe and secure, they become more liberal. When they feel threatened, they become more conservative. And moving beyond specifically acts of terror, we have this story from Vox that says, in the 1960s, riots boosted Republican vote share. Princeton professor Omar Wasow has a relevant paper that examined county-level voting patterns in the 1960s. What he found is that exposure to nonviolent protests pushed people to vote for the more liberal presidential candidate, while exposure to violent ones pushed people to vote for the more conservative candidate. There is a lot of data on this subject. I am not an expert, but it is something I have been tracking for quite some time, and there are many sources that suggest it's not just about what group is seen to be causing the problem. It's about the politics of the politician. Donald Trump is seen as a strong man. He's a bully, and people recognize that he can be very mean, he can mock people, but it is a sign of strength. When average people are exposed to terrifying situation, terrorism, acts of violence, they lean towards those they view to be stronger. As we saw from one of these studies, people who are liberal tend to feel safe, or when someone feels safe, they lean towards liberal policies. And when people don't feel safe or they feel anxious, they lean towards conservative policies. The reason for this may have something to do with the moral foundations of the left and the right. From the Foundation for Economic Education, they say, what Haidt found is that both conservatives and liberals recognize the harm, care, and fairness reciprocity values. Liberal-minded people, however, tend to reject the three remaining foundational values: loyalty, betrayal, authority subversion, and sanctity degradation. While conservatives accept them, it's an extraordinary difference, and it helps explain why many liberals and conservatives in America think the other side is bonkers. According to a study called Boosting Belligerence, How the July 7, 2005 London Bombings Affected Liberals' Moral Foundations and Prejudice, they say, after the bombings, there was greater endorsement of the in-group foundation, lower endorsement of the Fairness Reciprocity Foundation, and stronger prejudices towards Muslims and immigrants. The differences in both the endorsement of the foundations and the prejudices were larger among people with a liberal orientation than among those with a conservative orientation. Furthermore, the changes in endorsement of moral foundations among liberals explained their increases in prejudice. The results highlight the value of psychological theory and research for understanding societal changes in attitudes and prejudices after major terrorist events. So let me just kind of sum all of this up. There is a major event happening right now. By the time you watch this, there's probably more information I wasn't able to cover. But several potential explosive devices have been sent out mostly to left-leaning individuals. Barack Obama, the Clintons, George Soros, Eric Holder, CNN's office, and many people are saying it's very likely from someone associated with the right or it's a right-wing terrorist. We don't know that. Or at least I should say, as of the filming of this video, I have no evidence that is true. However, many people are making assumptions simply because the targets were people often criticized by Donald Trump. We don't know what that means. A lot of people I see on Twitter are saying this is going to help the Democrats in the midterms. Some people are even calling it a false flag attack. We don't know that. We don't know what this is. Some are suggesting that maybe the devices weren't intended to go off and it was just meant to draw attention and make the left look like victims. Again, all of this is speculation. The only thing we know so far is that devices were sent out. But I want to point out, while it may be true that people on the left will be prejudiced against Donald Trump, and this may actually motivate them to go out and vote and to encourage others to vote their direction, it doesn't necessarily help the Democrats. This might actually ignite a fire under the people who are politically disengaged to vote for Republicans out of fear and a desire for safety. As we can see from these studies and these reports, it's not just that liberals became prejudiced against Muslims or immigrants because of the terror attacks. They also had an increase in a feeling of loyalty and in-group acceptance and national identity, meaning these are many things typically associated with the right and with conservatives. I'll tell you this. Most of my friends I've asked about this, as of right now, didn't even know it was happening. They don't know who did it, they don't know what it's about, and when I talk to them, the only thing they really focus on is that some kind of terror attack is occurring, that someone's trying to send out potential explosives. I'm seeing a lot of people on the left just calling this more right-wing terrorism, but I assure you that's not going to help your cause. And pointing the fingers at the Democrats and saying this is a false flag also will not help the right. Saying this is a false flag just sounds crazy. We don't know what happened. And screaming right-wing terrorist is also premature considering we don't know what happened. It's only going to inflame tensions. The midterms are a couple weeks out, and I gotta admit, it's crazy to see this kind of thing happen just a couple weeks out, so naturally people are paranoid, they're suspicious. What I can say, though, is that I have been worried about an escalation in political violence for over a year now, almost 2 years, and I keep saying, it's going to get worse. So I hope you're all paying attention to things like this, and I hope you're taking precautions to make sure that you and your family are safe, because there are a lot of crazy people out there. There are people who want to do violent things and they want to harm each other. And so long as politicians are embracing incivility, so long as people won't call out the street violence on either side, regardless of what it's about, it doesn't matter if one side is worse than the other. Just keep pointing to what the problem is and keep demanding that people return to civility. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I know a lot of people disagree with my assessment on this, but it is true that when liberal-minded people become scared, they tend to vote in a conservative direction, which means it doesn't matter who the targets are, and it doesn't matter who did it. Because there are going to be people who don't pay attention to the news who aren't going to care who did it. They're just going to look to the strong man candidate and say, I want whoever is going to be strong on security and borders to make sure we are safe. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and we'll keep the conversation going. You can follow me on Twitter at TimCast. Stay tuned. New videos every day at 4 p.m., and I'll have more videos coming up on my second channel, youtube.com/TimCastNews at 6 p.m. Thanks for hanging out. Stay tuned. If there's any major breaking updates, I will have more videos on this channel with breaking news from what's happening around the country. So again, thank you for hanging out, and I will see you all tomorrow.